I declared before my comrades, including the deputy commander, that I identify as LGBT. Everyone knows I'm gay.
As well as electric shocks, I was forced to sit on an ant's nest, kept in a freezing room, and undressed by men who felt my breast.
LGBT people face widespread discrimination in socially conservative Myanmar, but are playing important roles at many levels in the struggle to oust the regime. They include a People's Defense Force commander, a fashion designer in exile, a trade union activist who is sexually abused in custody, and a community organizer who speak of their experiences. Hello and welcome to Do Athan, a podcast about human rights stories from Myanmar. It's brought to you by Fondation Hirondelle. This episode is produced by a Do Athan journalist. Some names and voices may have been changed to protect contributors.
In the 4 years since the military seized power, I faced many difficulties and troubles. I've had experiences that I never expected. I had to live in the jungle for 2 or 3 years, where all I could see was trees. Despite facing many challenges with the People's Defense Force unit that I command, we were able to overcome them. We are undaunted, and we will never give up. My unit has grown to become a strong military force. It gives me satisfaction to know that we can fight against the military effectively.
Ko Nui Ni is the commander and a founding member of the People's Defense Force TRI, spelt TRI, which operates in Mandalay region under the command of the National Unity Government, a parallel administration formed by deposed lawmakers. Ko Nui Ni was formerly a teacher at a government school who joined the civil disobedience movement after the coup. He is also LGBT, unusual for someone commanding PDF fighters. In the past, Ko Nui Ni wore his hair long and his demeanor was that of someone who is delicate and gentle. When Ko Nui Ni became a fighter, he did not think about hiding his gay identity. He believes that hiding his identity would be a sign of weakness.
I don't need to pretend in the revolution. The first time I was in charge of a military training course, I declared before my comrades, including the deputy commander, that I identify as LGBT. Everyone knows I'm gay. I refuse to change the way I behave and speak, and the only change to my appearance was to cut my hair short, like a soldier. I might be LGBT, but I'm an effective commander of my PDF force.
The PDF TRI, commanded by Ko Nui Ni, has 1,000 fighters. He strives to challenge the assumptions of those who think that an LGBT person in his position must be a weak leader.
I have concerns that people will say an LGBT person will be ineffective in military operations. Although our behavior is delicate and gentle, we are not weak. It makes me unhappy when people assume I must be weak in my position as a commander. I often have to prove that I have the leadership capacity essential for my role. Ko Nui Ni was raised in a conservative family and environment that did not accept his LGBT identity. He has had to fight to maintain his identity. He works to ensure that gender equality thrives in the unit he commands and that patriarchy, which he defines as a society controlled by men who use their power to their advantage, is kept at bay. After the coup, thousands of Myanmar citizens fled to Mae Sot, a Thai town on the border with Myanmar,
to avoid political persecution. Among them was Ko Sam, who had been a famous fashion designer in Yangon, where many of his wealthy customers were from military families or linked to the military. He was accused by the regime of being involved in protests and supporting the revolutionary forces. After he fled, the regime confiscated his home. In his new life in Maysot, Ko Sam runs a small tailor shop. The once famous fashion designer, who had rich and influential customers in Yangon, is careful to avoid attracting attention in Maysot, including on social media.
I'm
still a fashion designer, but I keep a low profile. I sacrificed my life as a fashion designer under the military dictatorship, and I had to start my life again from scratch. Everything in my life has changed now.
Since the coup, Ko Sam has remained committed to quietly and steadfastly supporting the campaign against the military dictatorship. He has no intention of returning to Myanmar while the military remains in power. Ko Sam says LGBT people are participating in the revolution in various ways, but still encounter discrimination. Few LGBT have leading positions in the PDF or other armed groups, he says, and their absence at the political level is particularly obvious.
Although there's more acceptance in society of LGBT people, it's still not enough. Many people are homophobic. They harbour hate towards LGBT people, even within the revolution. If we LGBT want more rights, we need to be more effective and participate more in important roles. However, LGBT people will need to be careful to show appreciation and not be too assertive when we seek more opportunities and rights.
LGBT people told Do Athan that their active participation in the campaign against the regime has resulted in greater discrimination and persecution by the military. LGBT political prisoners are more likely to be tortured or suffer sexual violence than inmates who are not gay. Ma Mei is a gay member of a trade union who suffered torture and sexual violence under interrogation by the regime after being arrested for leading anti-dictatorship and flash mob protests in Yangon. She was arrested in 2022, imprisoned for incitement, and released at the end of 2024. Soon after being released, she fled to a liberated area in Cayenne State where she needed treatment for injuries sustained from torture at the notorious Yi Chi Ain Interrogation Center in northern Yangon and in insane prison.
I was in prison for more than 2 years. I experienced tingling and numbness in my hands because of electric shock torture when I was at the interrogation center. As well as electric shocks, I was forced to sit on an ant's nest, kept in a freezing room, and undressed by men who felt my breast.
Before the coup, Ma Mei worked in a factory at an industrial zone in western Yangon, where she faced discrimination as an LGBT person. The experience motivated her to become active in fighting for the rights of workers and those who are LGBT. She did not hesitate to become involved in the protest movement after the 2021 coup.
I was involved in campaigns such as distributing anti-regime pamphlets and posting protest banners. I continued to participate in the protest movement online. The trade union organization in which I'm involved considers how we can continue to support the revolution while being careful to ensure that any personal consequences are minimized. The revolution has moved forward and we're always considering protest strategies. We have not stopped.
Ma Mei hopes for a Myanmar in which LGBT people do not experience discrimination, as well as the fall of the dictatorship. She is determined to relentlessly educate the public about LGBT rights, including those involved in the revolution. Zui, a 30-year-old LGBT activist, lives in Yangon. He has a community organizer role in the city, which is under the tight grip of a regime obsessed with security. Since being released from prison in late 2023, he has continued to be active in raising awareness about LGBT rights and gender equality. He also spreads knowledge and ideas about anti-dictatorship activities, promotes leadership skills in the community, and encourages continued participation in the revolution.
I
think raising awareness is a long-term commitment for our LGBT community. Although we had some opportunities under the previous government, they were not completely fulfilled. The opportunities for LGBT people were mainly in the beauty and entertainment sectors. I hope that the involvement of LGBT people in the revolution will result in them having more important roles in rebuilding our country in the future.
Zui was arrested by the military at his home in June 2021 because of his involvement in protests against the regime. He was held in insane prison and Thayet prison in Megway region before his release in October 2023. Despite his time in prison, he remains resolute about opposing the dictatorship.
Although I am fighting for two causes, my priority is the eradication of dictatorship. It's important to prove that we, LGBT people, deserve rights by standing and struggling together against the regime.
Zui stresses the importance of LGBT people being prepared to take action to demand their rights.
We have much to do. Most importantly, we have to work hard to prove that we don't deserve disrespect. We have to prove this by how we live our lives. To be different is not the problem. The problem lies with those who are hostile towards difference. LGBT people should not feel inferior. Instead, we should focus on how we can contribute to our country and to humanity. We need to be positive and do our best to cultivate acceptance.
LGBT people interviewed by Do Athan hope for more rights and an improvement in their situation after the revolution ends in victory for the people. Ma Mei, the protest leader, hopes that LGBT people will have political leadership roles.
Being human is nothing to do with one's sexuality. Laws need to be reformed to protect their freedom and their right to live as who they are. Most people don't want to accept or tend to avoid LGBT people. They should be given equal rights to participate as citizens, whether it's applying for a job or joining an organization. I don't want anyone to be denied participation because they are LGBT.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Do Athan. We would welcome your feedback on social media, and please follow or subscribe to our pages. This project on human rights reporting is supported by Fondation Hirondelle with the help of our donors. You can listen to our podcasts via the Do Athan Facebook page. They can also be found on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Telegram, and Instagram. Please tune in again for our next episode.